So good to see you.
Far too long. We won't be silent anymore. We won't be silent.
We
United Methodists for Christ's cause.
Are you a United Methodist?
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 Then you are invited.
Then you are invited.
Even if you're not a United Methodist.
Even if you're not a United Methodist,
You are invited.
you are invited.
Please come.
Please come.
Hear from Palestinians.
We're here for Palestinians.
Hear how to vote.
Hear how to vote.
End the genocide.
End the genocide.
Stop the genocide.
Stop the genocide.
Divest from the genocide.
Divest from the genocide.
No more war.
No more war.
No more occupation.
No more occupation.
No more apartheid.
No more apartheid.
No more collective punishment.
No more collective punishment.
Let us stand together.
Let us stand together
We call on you,
to follow you,
United Methodists,
United Methodists,
to join us.
to join us
Right now.
right now.
Ceasefire now.
Ceasefire now.
Ceasefire
Ceasefire
now.
now.
Ceasefire now.
Ceasefire now. Ceasefire now.
No more genocide.
No more genocide.
No
No
more genocide.
genocide.
No more genocide.
Genocide.
Let Gaza live. Let Gaza live.
Let Gaza live.
Let Gaza live.
Let Gaza live.
Gaza live.
Gaza live. Divest right now. Divest right now.
Divest right now.
Divest right now.
Divest right now.
Divest right now. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. What does the Lord require of you? What does the Lord require of you? What does
Ceasefire now. Ceasefire now. Ceasefire now. Ceasefire now. Let Gaza live. Let Gaza live. Let Gaza live. More genocide. More genocide. More genocide. More genocide. Let Gaza live. Let Gaza live. Let Gaza live. Let Gaza live. Join us right now. Join us right now. Join us right now. Join us right now. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Ceasefire now. Ceasefire now. Ceasefire now. Ceasefire now.
More genocide.
No 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 more genocide.
More genocide.
Genocide.
Let Gaza live.
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 Let Gaza live. Join us right now. Join us right now.
Join us right now.
Join us right now.
Join us right now.
Join us right now.
Join us right now.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine. Ceasefire now. Ceasefire Somebody's hurting my brother, and it's gone on far too long. I tell you, it's gone on
Far too long.
Oh yes, it's gone on far too long. Somebody's hurting my brother, and it's gone on
Far too long.
together, and we won't be silent anymore. Somebody's killing the children, and it's gone on.
Far too
Oh
long.
yes, it's gone on.
Far too long.
Oh yes, it's gone on.
Far too long.
Somebody's killing the children, and it's gone on.
Far too long.
And we
Won't be silent anymore.
Somebody's hurting my sister, and it's gone on.
Far too long.
Oh yes, it's gone on.
Far too
Oh
long.
yes, it's gone on.
Far too long.
Somebody's hurting my sister, and it's gone on.
Far too long.
And we won't
Be silent
anymore. And we won't
be silent anymore.
we won't
Be
kindness and walk humbly with your God to seek justice and love kindness and walk humbly with your God to seek justice and love kindness.
العافية إبراهيم.
Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! No more genocide! In the words of Dr. King, a man dies when he refuses to stand up for that which is right. A woman dies when she refuses to stand up for justice. A woman dies when she refuses to take a stand for that which is true. We know those words from Dr. Martin Luther King, and he spoke those prophetic words to encourage people to take action. Good afternoon. My name is Paula Roderick, and we are gathering here to consider what does justice look, feel, smell, and act like for Palestinian brothers and sisters. I have a few housekeeping matters. I'm going to ask people to make sure that there's a little room in the walkway. Right? We don't want to block people's access, even though we know when we're here today we are fighting because Palestinians' right to access has been blocked. But we don't want to do that today. I'm Paula Roderick. I am a member of the United Methodists for Kairos Response, and my co-convener here is Neil Christie. Many of you may already know him, but he's recently moved into a new position as Executive Director of Fiatano. Close? All right. And so together, we have the honor of introducing you to some of the most powerful justice workers that we know of with respect to Israel and Palestine. And we're going to start. Our Palestinian brothers are going to tell their story. We're going to start. Khalid? Khalid?
Yes, I'm here.
There you go.
Closer to the mic, yeah.
Please speak very close to the mic. Okay.
Thank you and good evening. Thank you, United Methodist Church. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. First of all, I want to say that I acknowledge that I stand on a land stolen from its indigenous people, the Native Americans, and that I am aware of their struggle and suffering on the hands of European settlers. And I am aware of the Removal Act of 1830 and the Trail of Tears, where all the Cherokee and Catawba Indians were forced against their will to abandon their land and walk to faraway areas across from the Mississippi River. I am aware of that because I am a Palestinian. Because for us Palestinians, we had our own removal act and trail of tears. We call it the Nakba, which took place 76 years ago, where our Palestinian people were forcibly driven out of their land and forced to languish in camps built by the United Nations on the margins of Arab cities, and to be sequestered and stranded in tiny areas such as the Gaza Strip. And just as the native Indians, their loss of land continued unabated until today, we the Palestinians have continued to undergo this long process of removal, land expropriation, confiscation, appropriation. Thus, the events in the Gaza Strip are not an isolated incident, rather a continuation of Israel's settler colonial policies. For the past 76 years, not a day has passed without witnessing illegalities and violations exacted upon our people by the settler colonial state of Israel in the form of land confiscation, assassination, indiscriminate bombing of our areas of residence, administrative detention, demolition of our homes, uprooting our ancient old olive trees, and the list goes on and on. All of this because our people are not part of their group. We are not wanted. Israel has declared total war upon our people and against the Palestinians who are segregated in the biggest reservation or concentration camp, and for the longest time in history, known as the Gaza Strip, a tiny strip of arid land. Instead of restoring our rights, their rights of repatriation and restitution to the lands Israel stole from them in 1948, Israel is bombing them into oblivion. Palestinians in the Gaza Strip are to remain silent while they continue to witness the settler colonial project of genocide take its toll upon them. So Menachem Begin's vision in the 1970s of keeping a small minority of Palestinians on a small piece of land will come to reality. From this city of Charlotte, North Carolina, and other cities in America and the world, from all localities where exiled and dispersed Palestinians reside, from the Palestinian camps of Lebanon, Syria, and Jordan, from the gates and ghettos of Palestine, our message to the settler colonial state of Israel is clear. Your inhumane, illegal, and violent aggression upon our defenseless people in the Gaza Strip will not yield to fruition, will not come to reality. You will not break our will. You will not silence us. You will not deter us from continuing to struggle for all of our rights of justice, equality, from looking up high and waiting for the sun to rise, and from our most sacred dream of all, restitution and repatriation to our land of Palestine. And I will end this with a very short poem from Tawfiq Zayad, former mayor of Jerusalem. He wrote this in 1976 when his people in Nazareth were threatened to lose their land. So he says, and I'm gonna say it in Arabic real quick: كأننا 20 مستحيل في اللد والرملة والجليل هنا على صدوركم باقون كالجدار وفي حلوقكم كقطعة الزجاج كالصبار وفي عيونكم زوبعة من نار. And what it translates into English, it is like we are 20 impossibilities in the Lid, Ramli, and Al Jalil, in here in Palestine. On your chest we are remaining like a wall, and in your throats like a piece of glass, like a cactus, in your eyes a whirlwind of fire. Thank you. Long live Palestine. Long live the struggle for justice. Thank you.
Thank you, Khalid. I get the honor of introducing Reverend Alex Awad. And in May 2008, I was a young Methodist, and I was on a delegation to Israel and Palestine. And it was an interfaith delegation, but I was the only Methodist. So I got a hold of something called the Methodist Liaison Office. And that was where Reverend Alex Awad was. And he came down to meet me in Bethlehem. Out of all the busy things that he has to do as a dean of students at Bethlehem Bible College, he took time to meet with one single Methodist in Bethlehem. And he took me to lunch, made me eat some lentils, and then he told me his story, and that was the first time I had ever heard of what the Nakba was. So help me welcome Reverend Alex Awad.
Should I take it out? Thank you, Paula, and thank you, everyone who's here. Your presence really encourages us and encourages all Palestinians right here in Charlotte, and all these pictures and videos that you are taking will encourage thousands of people around the United States and thousands of people around the world. So thank you, thank you, thank you for coming. And thank you, United Methodists for Kairos Response, for organizing this. And thank you for United Methodist pastors and leaders and delegates for coming here and being with us at this critical moment in the history of Palestine. Many of you know me because I visited your churches, right? Anyone? Yes. Many of you know me because I spoke in your conferences, and you have partnered with us at Bethlehem Bible College or at any ministry we had in the Holy Land. And I really want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for your solidarity with us, not only this moment, but for many, many years. I can look at the faces here and I see people who ministered in Palestine, volunteered in Palestine, did work in Palestine, contributed for the people of Palestine for many, many years and many, many dollars. And I really appreciate that so much. For those of you who don't know me, I want to tell you a little bit about my story. I was born in 1946. That's 2 years before the first Arab-Israeli war. In that war, my father, who was a civilian, one day he decided to go to work, even though it was something like a curfew, but he had to work because he had to feed his wife and 7 children, and also his mother. We were all living together. Very soon after he left the house, he was shot and killed by an Israeli sniper. And he was instantly killed. We buried my father, and then we had to leave our home, and we have to rush from West Jerusalem, a neighborhood called Musrara, to East Jerusalem, and to start a new life in East Jerusalem. My father left mother with 7 children. I was 2 years old. My younger sister, Diana, was 6 months old. My mother at that time, she didn't have a profession, and she did the impossible. Immediately she went to college. Can you imagine a woman with 7 children and going to college? But in order to do that, she has to put us in boarding schools. So all of my brothers and sisters ended up in orphanages and boarding schools. We are also thankful for that because we got good education in these orphanages and boarding school. But anyway, life was tough for us since 1948. We were very, very poor. but we did not feel it because my mother was a wonderful Christian. She was full of faith, and she never allowed us to feel poor. We were rich in spirit, and therefore we were able to be a blessing to, she was able to be a blessing to us and to many, many people around us. Well, you know, a lot of people, if you hear the news, they will tell you that this problem of today, what we have in Gaza, is really started on October 7. And they will tell you it was not provoked. Well, I want to tell you, don't believe all that garbage, because it is not true. You know, the problem started, like I showed you, in 1948. It continued in 1967. And all through that time, the Palestinians never had one day of peace and security. We never had one day. From 1948 until today, we never have a day of peace and security. So for anyone, they say, oh, there was a ceasefire before October 7, and then Hamas came and destroyed everything. That is only propaganda. That is not true. And there has been an occupation in the West Bank. Israelis were all the time confiscating Palestinian land, making Jewish settlements against international law. And the whole world knew about it. Everybody was saying these illegal Jewish settlements, they are internationally illegal, and yet Israel continued to build these Jewish settlements in the West Bank. Yes, I got the message. I have only 1 minute left. Well, in my last minute, I want to thank United Methodists for what you are doing here in this conference. But I want to say, this is not enough. You can do more. Amen? Yes, please do more. How many more Palestinian children in Gaza has to be killed before you act aggressively? Isn't 15,000 Palestinian children killed in Gaza? Isn't that enough? How about 35,000 Palestinians, men, women, children, killed in the Gaza Strip? Isn't that enough to move our hearts and to want us to do the right thing and want us to impact our government, our senators, our congresspeople? I think it is enough. How many doctors have to be killed? How many journalists have to be killed? How many houses have to be demolished? About 65% of Gaza is demolished right now. How many more children have to die under the rubbles of their homes? I urge you, United Methodists, to do more than what you are doing now. Thank you so much.
Please speak right into the mic.
Yeah. So I'm going to invite my brother, the Reverend Lloyd Nierota, to come forward. My name again is Neil Christie. I'm representing the Love Your Neighbor Coalition. And I'd like to introduce very briefly the Reverend Lloyd Nierota, who will speak on apartheid now and then, relating to us the situation relating to Palestine, South Africa, what we have to learn from South Africa's apartheid in the ICJ case. So Lloyd.
Okay, thank you, Neil Christie. Thank you all who are here. Thank you, delegates. My name is Lloyd Nierota. I was born in a small village in Southern Africa. But I want to tell you something. When I was born in that village without leaving the village, staying there, I was born in Southern Rhodesia. And when I was a baby, I then lived in Rhodesia. And then when I was in middle school, I then lived in Zimbabwe, Rhodesia, still in the same village. When I was becoming a teenager, then I lived in Zimbabwe. Without leaving my village, brothers and sisters, that is what colonialism can do. All that just happened because in 1890, a fellow British who left London, He just arrived in Zimbabwe. He put up a Union Jack. He called the place Rhodesia after his own name. He claimed that the whole land now belongs to the Queen, and he named the city. He arrived on Queen Victoria, and he changed every village and every place and give them British names. That is what colonialism can do. And I can tell you that if you are born as a baby in one country, in the same village, as you become a toddler, you are told you are in another country in the same village. When you become a young boy, you are told you are in another country in the same village. When you are a teenager, you are told you are now living in another country in the same village. That's confusing for all children. That's confusing if it is happening to the Palestinian children. That is confusing. And that is what colonialism can do. Now, when independence came, we were celebrating. But as I was becoming a teenager, I just realized that our neighbors in South Africa were going through serious systems. And by the way, the village I grew up in, the British called it a reserve. That means we found ourselves in a reserve. We found ourselves, our village, changing a name. It was now a reserve. They declared one thing, that all our kings were turned into chiefs because there was only one king in London. There could be no two kings in the British area. That is what colonialism can do. And you know what happened? As I was becoming a teenager, becoming politically conscious, begin to understand what it meant to live in a free country, we only realized that our brothers and sisters in South Africa were going through apartheid. You know, when you move from colonialism to apartheid, it is painful. Maybe some of you who have never lived in a colonized place, maybe some of you who have never experienced apartheid, when those of us who have lived it, when those of us who have been raised in it, when we mention it that this is colonialism and you are moving from colonialism to apartheid, it is painful to see that happening. And it happened, you know, in apartheid South Africa. Blacks and whites could not walk in the same streets. Blacks and whites, they could not live in the same places. They turned the villages and called them Bandustans. Bandustans were told you are independent, you can have your own laws, but you actually have no power. You actually have no authority. They were called the Bandustan authorities. And you know what? In 2012, my first time to visit Palestinian, I was surprised to hear that in the same road, I had to remember I'm in area A, area B, area C, and I could not comprehend where I was. I had to ask, am I in area A or in area B? And you are told now you are crossing that line, you are getting to area C. And I'm saying, how many countries am I moving into? How many countries am I traveling in? And you are told, this is just one street. And when I met the Palestinian children, when I saw those children, when I kneeled down to say hello to them, and just remember that these are the children someone is calling terrorists, I remembered one thing. You know, in Rhodesia, when we were fighting for our liberation in Rhodesia, our freedom fighters, the Rhodesians called them terrorists. The British called them the terrorists. The Americans called them the terrorists, but we called them freedom fighters. So your terrorist could be my freedom fighter. It only depends on where you are standing. It only depends on what is your understanding of life. It only depends about how many privileges you have got in life. So a terrorist could be a freedom fighter. Yes, things could happen in a war situation. You know, if you put your heel on my foot, what do you expect me to do if I continue begging and begging and you keep on pressing harder and harder and harder? I have to push you to go. When I push you, then you call me a terrorist. That's what colonialism and apartheid can do. And I can tell you what I observed in Israel and Palestine surpassed what we experienced in Rhodesia. In Rhodesia, we could not live in the same villages. We could not live in the same places with the British and the white people. But at least we were allowed to drive, if you have a car, in the same highways. But the Palestinians cannot drive in a highway that an Israeli drives in. Hey, they've taken apartheid to another level. And I say, this is surprising. And you know, my last time in Israel and Palestinian land was in May of 2023. May in 2023, there are people in this world who are still waking up one morning in their house, and the following morning they are told, you don't belong here. You have to demolish your house. If you don't demolish it, we come and demolish your house and we send you the bill. In 2023, it is still happening. Apartheid is not right. My brothers and sisters, there's something that made apartheid South Africa fall. It was when the world began to see that apartheid is bad. They divested. They boycotted apartheid. They sanctioned apartheid. And that is what makes apartheid come to the end. United Methodists divest, sanction, and remove your money from making your brother suffer. Our dollars that we pray on every Sunday, that we pastors raise our hands and put to the cross, you take those and then invest them in apartheid. What a shame.
Thank you. We must divest and resist now, 'cause it's gone on far too long. Yes, it's gone on far too long. I'm telling you, it's gone on far too long. We must divest and resist now, 'cause it's gone on far too long. And we won't be silent anymore. Somebody's killing our children, and it's gone on. Oh yes, it's gone on. I'm telling you, it's gone on. Somebody's killing our children, and it's gone on. And we won't be silent anymore. No, we won't. No, we won't be silent anymore. Somebody's hurting our siblings, and it's gone on far too long. Oh yes, it's gone on. Oh yes, it's gone on. Somebody's hurting our siblings, and it's gone on. And we won't be silent, and no, we won't. And we won't be silent anymore. No, we won't. And we won't be silent anymore.
So I invite Dov Baum, who is director of AFC's Action Center for Corporate Accountability. Dov is the co-founder of Who Profits from the Occupation and of the Coalition of Women for Peace in Israel.
Woo! Woo! Call us to task. Call us to task.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. So, yeah, I'm a Jewish Israeli, and I've lived here in the US now for 11 years, so you can tell by my white hair that I lived most of my adult life in Israel as an activist in Israel. So I want to tell you a little bit about the beginning of that story. I was a very curious kid. I grew up in a small town, a suburb of Tel Aviv, and of course I've never seen any Palestinians. Maybe day workers, you know, that would come and be the gardeners. Segregation, yes? And then I read Alan Patton's book, Cry the Beloved Country. I don't know if you heard about it. I was a very curious kid, and I read that book about South Africa, and I was like, how come the white people didn't know? How come they didn't know that there is apartheid and it was bad? I mean, how can it be? And I looked around me, and I think the same week I went to the mall, and there was this young Palestinian kid about my age who was trying to get into the mall, as I was. And you know, everybody in Israel has to carry an ID, and your ID actually says your nationality, Jewish or Palestinian. By the way, Jewish is not considered a religion in Israel. It's a nationality, okay? So, you know, I show my ID, I go in, she shows her ID, the security guard throws this on the ground and says, you have to wait here, you cannot go in, we're calling security, blah, blah, blah. 12-year-old child, my age, and I looked at that, and I just read that book, you know? And I was like, okay. And I came back home, and my parents had a guest at the house that they were entertaining, and he worked for the General Security Services, and they were joking and telling jokes about torture. And it dawned on me that Alan Patton's beloved country was also my own. Now, it is as simple as that. Today, we have all major human rights organizations around the world calling Israel an apartheid state, including Israeli human rights organizations. But you don't need them. It's enough to be a 12-year-old in Israel to know that this is apartheid. There are 12 million people living between the river and the sea, in that land that is both called Israel and Palestine by different people. 6 million people are Jewish, 6 million are Palestinian. Most Palestinians living on the land, all of them under Israeli rule, cannot vote, cannot organize, have severe restrictions on getting married among themselves, and of course you cannot marry Israelis and Palestinians, Jewish and Palestinians. They cannot get married inside the country. Severe restrictions on travel, of course. You heard about Zone A, Zone B, Zone C, the segregation between different Palestinian communities. If you are Palestinian, your property can be taken at will. Your children can be killed with impunity. You can be held without any trial or even charged for years. Laws are different. You cannot buy land in most of the country. You know, what is that? What do we call that? Apartheid. So I am part of a group of Israelis called Israelis Against Apartheid. And I also work here with the American Friends Service Committee. And I've been doing this work for many years, trying to do the research needed to find out the names of corporations and institutions here in this country and around the world that are directly supporting Israeli apartheid, Israeli occupation, Israeli colonization, Israeli genocide. And I remember coming to the General Conference in Tampa, Florida in 2012, asking the United Methodist Church to divest from Israeli apartheid. And then coming back again to Portland, and this is my third General Conference. And I want to tell you, I am deeply ashamed today to be an Israeli. And I'm sure many of you are deeply ashamed today to be American, especially after sending off another $14 billion in military aid to Israel. I'm speaking to you as an Israeli and as a Jew, and I'm asking you and I'm begging you, please stop the supply of weapons, stop the supply of arms, stop the supply of money, stop the impunity, stop the diplomatic support, stop enabling Israeli crimes. They are not helping us, they are killing us. These crimes are crimes that are unforgivable. These are crimes that we will have to live with the consequences of these for many generations to come. In the name of the future of these two peoples in this land, the Holy Land of Palestine, of Israel, we need to make it stop. And I want to also refer your attention to this sign that says apartheid-free communities. I was so happy to see it here today. Any of you who is a member of a congregation can go online, apartheid-free.org, and just sign on to that pledge as a congregation, as a community, to become apartheid-free, to oppose apartheid everywhere and in Palestine, and to join others in cutting all of our ties to Israeli apartheid. And today, I think it is high time for the United Methodist Church to do the same, to divest from Israeli apartheid. Thank you.
Divest now! Divest now! Divest now! Divest now!
All right, friends, I want to say a word on behalf of an organization that I have the privilege to serve as the executive director of. It is called the Federation of Indian American Christians of North America. It includes Catholics, Orthodox Christians, evangelical Christians, mainline Christians, all who are standing up for human rights, particularly for those who are most persecuted in the country of India, including those who are Muslims, Sikh, Dalits, the lowest caste, and indigenous peoples in the country of India. And I want to share just for a moment with you what the reality for Christians in India has to do with the Christians in Palestine. The new Federation of Asian American United Methodists at this General Conference is asking you to pass a new resolution on the persecution of Christians and other minorities in India, to designate India as a country of particular concern, something the State Department has refused to do. Why? For engaging in systematic, egregious violations of religious freedom as defined by the International Religious Freedom Act and the Bipartisan Congressional Lantos Commission, and to ask that our churches and civil society denounce the rapid rise of ethno-nationalism in India. Here we have something in common. Ethno-nationalism, the use of religion to legitimate systematic violence against religious minorities in Palestine and in India. The New York Times has reported anti-Christian vigilantes continue to sweep through villages, storm through churches, burn Christian literature, attack schools, arrest nuns, assault worshipers. In many cases, the police and members of India's governing party, the BJP, are helping them. In church after church, the very act of worship has become dangerous. The ecumenical Delhi-based United Christian Forum, my dear friend John Dayal, a Catholic lay activist, reports that 700 attacks took place in 2023 against Christians. Fiacona, the organization I am directing, has documented well over 2,000 attacks on churches, clergy, and laity, the burning, the bulldozing of over 400 churches in 2023 alone. Open Doors USA ranks India as the top in the 11 of the most dangerous countries in the world to be a Christian, at a persecution level called extreme, beyond Pakistan, Iran, and Afghanistan, worse than Saudi Arabia or China. India's Foreign Contribution Regulation Act alone impacts hundreds of organizations. It has made illegal organizations such as Amnesty International, Compassion International, Mother Teresa's Missionaries of Charity. And this surge in violence is propelled by something called Hindutva, friends, a religious nationalism. It is a supremacist political ideology that has become state policy at the state level and federal level, and it conflates a militant Hindu ideology and Jim Crow-style laws applied to the minority groups across India. It distorts Hinduism. It exploits the lives and the labor of millions of people. It has taken their land, especially those who are Dalits, those who are indigenous women. And the alarming levels of state-sanctioned violence against Christians, lower caste Dalits, and religious minorities on the street and the state structure must be made an international reality and international response. It is high time. With India as the largest democracy in the world, we are no longer a democracy. And so you see the parallels for Christians who are advocating for religious minorities in India, and as we advocate for the liberation, the protection, the safeguard of our siblings in Palestine. If these policies sound familiar to you, as United Methodists, with a connection to India, as I do, my family going back generations, so they're Methodist missionaries into Afghanistan, medical missionaries, where Christians have lived for 2,000 years. It is a matter of justice for us to stand with international accountability alongside our Palestinian siblings. So I ask for your support for India as we pray for and support and advocate for Palestine. I'd also now like to invite my siblings representing the Native American International Caucus to come forward.
Before they step up, I understand the building will be open a little bit longer if you want to have dinner. But I'm going to tell you, you are going to have your soul fed tonight in ways that you have not been challenged and fed. So I suggest you allow this dinner to be what you eat and have and enjoy today.
Thank you. I want to take it down. Leave it in my hand. Yeah. We need to move. Good evening. The Native American International Caucus of the United Methodist Church will now share with you a story and a reflection from our hearts and our lives in sacred step with our siblings in Palestine. Didn't finish the job. There you go. Got it.
Iwinitu Ilongamaki. Peace, all my relatives. One day, the animals of the forest decided to have a contest. They wanted to see who best embodied strength. Well, Mountain Lion came down and joined the circus. And then Possum came and joined that circle. And then Deer, she came, and she was running and joined that circle. And Bear, and they all gathered around, and the contest was about to start when Man showed up. He was late, but before he joined that circle, he hid something in the tall grasses. And then he stepped over and he said, "I'm here. The contest can begin." Well, Mountain Lion stepped up and said, "Strong claws, watch this." Meow, and began to dig and dug so long that smoke rose. And a new river was formed, and then stepped in front of everyone and said, "Meow," and they said, "Back it up." Well, Possum, she didn't want to be outdone, did she? And she looked and she said, "Strong tail, watch this." And up the tree she went, and out on a branch, and she wrapped that tail, and she hung there and moved back and forth, and she said, "Hey, I got a strong tail." They said, "That's really cute." And she came down and did what she knows how to do. Deer stepped up and said, "Fellas, I got strong legs and they're fast." And she took off running to one end of the forest back and never drew a hard breath. And she said, "What do you think?" And they said, "Strong legs, you got some. You're the..." And Bear stepped up. "Strong claws, strong back. I am strength all over." Took off running, ripped up trees from their roots, dove in the water, pushed them to the other side, and planted a new forest, and came back. And they said, Bear is the winner." And Man stepped up and said, "Hey, what about me?" And they said, "Oh yeah, Man, go ahead, show us what you got." And right then, Man, he jumped in the middle. He did a cartwheel. He did a backflip. He rolled forward on the ground and hopped up and said, "I am the winner. I am strength." They said, "You know, it's quite entertaining, but we're really not thinking that was strength. What you got?" And with that, he decided to climb to the top of a tree. And from there, he plucked fresh coconuts. And he began to juggle them, and he threw them down. He hopped down and he said, "Strength, I'm the winner." And they said, climbing was pretty good, and juggling was really entertaining. We'll give you one last chance, because that's not strength. And by now, Man was so angry. He looked around and he said, "Oh yeah? You want to see strength? You want to know what strength is? Watch this. And with that, he went to the tall grasses, and he bent down and lifted what he had hidden. And he stepped in the middle, and in the blink of an eye, boom, boom, boom! And the animals began to fall. And those that could still run were running. And man stood in the center screaming, I'm the winner. I am strength. But you see, the ones that survived that contest, they met in the heart of the forest where man never goes. And they looked at each other and they said, what was that? What was that? Was that strength? Was it, my friends? No. No. That is death. And all of the animals in the forest knows that man does not know the difference between strength and death. And that is when we walk in the forest, we walk alone. For all of our animal relatives knows that we do not know. And they still run from us. We are the only ones who can learn the difference between strength and death and stop the war.
Children are watching us. They don't often listen to what we say. They certainly do not listen to our advice, especially as they get older. But they are watching and they are learning. And they are going to live with what we leave behind and what we teach them and what we do, and in our tone. I am a miracle. My sister is a miracle. My Native brothers and sisters who are here with us today are miracles. We are miracles because we were not supposed to be here. We're supposed to be gone. We do not take lightly our lives and the sacrifices that our ancestors have made. When we walk now, we carry our ancestors and their hearts with us. I am the great-granddaughter of a Sand Creek Massacre survivor who survived when she was a child. I am the daughter of a boarding school survivor. I live now without speaking my language. And as I sat in legislation session today, and we love those translators, but those are not the languages those people should be speaking. Those are languages of the oppressor. And that is the language I am left to speak. The rejuvenation of our languages means so much. The reclamation of our identity and our place means so much. When we are told that this is a country of immigrants, where do we stand? Our children are listening. And when I hear the stories and I see the pictures of what's coming through from many places, Palestine certainly, I think of the children because this child, my child, and those yet to come carry genocide, invisibility, and continued efforts of erasure in our hearts. And we live with the fallout of that. Be mindful that as we are being asked to divest and to boycott and to help, and hopefully all of these things will happen, that's just the beginning. What has happened now is going to take generations to repair. We are still healing, and our hearts go out to the families, but especially to the children and those yet to come. What are they going to be living in? What are they going to be living in? We do not want to be complicit in yet another genocide, because we had one here and we still don't want to fess up to it yet. The truth must come out. We can only really move forward. We can only move together in unity when we know each other truthfully. When I can know your truth and hear your truth without taking it to myself to feel guilty. It's not about guilt. It's about truth. It's about strength. It is not about death. Thank you.